Greetings and welcome to the Southside Help Center Show. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in, and this is an opportunity. If you have any questions about any of the programs at the Southside Help Center, this is a great opportunity to find out. This is our third week. Each week we'll talk about this week and what's going to come on for the next week. So we truly would like to thank everyone for tuning in to the Southside Help Center Show. We've been in existence since about 1987, and we've been working on the south side of Chicago as well as throughout the city. Really, we've been doing HIV prevention and education, as well as mental health counseling, as well as after school program, as well as violence prevention, so forth and so on. And this just gives us an opportunity to highlight our programs and tell you guys what we've been doing, what we intend on doing, and what you can do as far as participating or what you can do to help. We have a guest today, and I really love when we have guests on the show. We have a guest today, is one of my co-workers, been working with this young brother since, probably for about 14 or 15 years, and he is phenomenal. He is a mentor. He is I can't begin to say all of the things that Mr. Dunn has truly been to our youth and our youth programs and our violence prevention programs. He has been phenomenal in his ability to put those programs out there, what he's done with the youth over the years. It just goes on and on and on. So I am really honored to have such a brother here on the show with us today. Today we'll be dealing with violence prevention and talking about the programs that the Southside Help Center offers, the ones that we have in the school system and so forth. So that's why we got Mr. Arthur Dunn. Welcome, Mr. Dunn. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Not a problem.
Good to be here.
Absolutely.
Even though you couldn't say too many good things about me, we're gonna get to it.
Right. Not too many, but you know how it is. You know, I've been working with this brother a long time, and I've seen his body of work, and he has done absolutely phenomenal. So
thank you. Appreciate it.
He is really an asset to the community, not just to the Southside Help Center, but to the community, because he always goes above and beyond. I want to get right into some of what the violence prevention program is about. And one thing I want to make sure that we talk about is our after school programs, as well as the ones that we have in the school. So this is a live call-in show. If you have any questions about the programs that we're going to talk about, please give us a call here at the station. Our number here is 312-738-1060. 312-738-1060. And this is a live call-in show. If you have any questions about programming at the Southside Help Center, please do give us a call. Mrs. Dunn, let's talk a little bit about the after, not the after school program, but the ones that we have in the school. Talk about what they are and how you can get involved.
All right, and then I'll touch on that in a moment. But before we get into that in today's topics, violence and among youth, I want to congratulate all of the high schoolers that we have who graduated and who are holding trunk parties over the next 2 to 3 weeks and will be leaving, going off to college.
Absolutely.
Although we're discussing teen violence today, it's still important to talk about what kids are doing that's still good in the neighborhood. So
absolutely.
Our kids from Finger High School, Corliss High School, Julian and Morgan Park, congratulations to you. We wish you all the best and much success to you.
Yeah, right. And let it make a note that a lot of the reasons, or a big part of that reason, is because of the programming at the Southside Help Center. We got a lot of our kids who come to the center on a regular basis and receive a lot of different services, be it that being homework help, be it that being mentoring, male and female. So we really contribute a lot of that to those programming. So parents, take the number down. Give us a call here at the station or call us at the office. That number is 773-445-5445 if you want your kids to get involved in some of these programs. Mr. Dunn.
Touching on the school-based prevention programs we have, Southside Help Center is all about prevention, not reacting, reaching young people in elementary schools, touching them at 5th, 6th grade level, and giving them the information they need. Gang prevention, drug prevention, establishing life skills, interview skills, communication skills, how to handle bullying, how to handle any situation on a day-to-day basis that could potentially lead to early sexual activity, drug use, and gang banging, violence. So our first program is the violence prevention program. We have a second program, which is life skills development. And again, we work with these kids from 5th grade all the way through 8th grade graduation. And we do our best to continue to work with those kids through high school and see those students off, hopefully, to college.
Okay. Just briefly, when you're doing a workshop, what do some of those workshops consist of with the violence prevention program and the school-based initiative?
Again, just going back to discussion groups and topics, breaking down the effects of alcohol on the body, the effects of tobacco on the body, both short-term and long-term, the effects of marijuana, which is just so acceptable right now among many youth, and how that affects the kids, the influence of drug use. If mama is smoking, daddy's smoking, brother, sister smoking, how do we teach this kid how to not fall into that trap? And those are the discussions that we have, and not so much always workshops. We're talking about heart-to-heart, straightforward discussions with these kids.
Absolutely. Well, and that just goes to we call planting the seed. We call building, and it's very important that when we plant those seeds in our youth, when we have these type of programs where we can actually get them at 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and we can start talking about prevention. One of the things we talk about with our HIV programs oftentimes is prevention or alternative programming, and that's what the violence prevention programs offer. It offers alternative programs or conflict resolutions or negotiation skills, which is key. When you start talking about youth, when you start talking about peer pressure, we do know that peer pressure, we talking 1 minute, 5 minutes can tear down 12, 13, 14 years of hard work. Peer pressure is amazing within our community. So some of the programs, or the programs Mr. Dunn is referring to, definitely are those seed planting programs, those seed building, and I want you to definitely make sure that you touch on mentoring and what that entails for our program, and also talk about just a couple of the success stories, because we have many, and it's a direct result of us planting those seeds early on. So we want to make sure we touch that.
Sure, and the importance of planting seeds at an early age. The students that we see, 5th grade, 6th grade, the exposure that they have to drugs, to gangs, to alcohol is so much greater and earlier than what my generation was exposed to. For the most part. So it's important not to be hesitant to talk about sex at 5th grade, at 6th grade, because a lot of our kids are exposed to early sexual activity, including drugs and including gang activity. So it's important to plant the seed. And sometimes Mr. Cherry speaks about reprogramming, taking away a lot of the negative, wrong teachings that these kids have received from birth. Through 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. By the time we get the kids, or we have access to these kids, we have to do a great deal of reprogramming these children to start thinking the right way, start talking the right way, and most importantly, start behaving the right way. So it's important to plant that seed as early as possible.
As early as possible, and definite parent involvement. One of the things we talk about is how important it is for parents to have the right information, because of course we do our part in providing education to our youth. We do our part in our schools, we do our part in our community, but we understand that the first teacher comes from home, and that's whomever it is at home. And one thing that we would like for our parents to do is stay involved in the process, because the more you know, the more you can teach. And I once had a guy, and I always tell this story, we was out doing HIV prevention and education, and he told me that it was my job to teach his kid. And my reply was, well, what if I never meet them? So as a parent, it is vital that our parents come to the parent-teacher meetings and conferences at the center, make sure they know what we're teaching their children, and also make sure that they get the right information so that they as well can give that information or impart that information to our youth. And we talked about reprogramming it and what that means, but this is the key with the programs we have at the Southside Help Center, with those violence prevention, with those alternative programs. Oftentimes at 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, they may have been exposed to a few things in the neighborhood or in the community or in the home, but not as much as you'll be exposed to when you reach 8th grade, when you reach high school. So that's why it's so important, because we don't have to do as much reprogramming. And we always talk about, what are we going to do? What can we do? Alternative programs, we always talk about that. Southside Help Center has provided these type of services, been providing these type of services for many, many years. And we're here now to talk about those services and what you can do to get involved community-wise, what you can do to get involved as parents, and what you can do to get those kids to us. Our number here at the station, 312-738-1060. This is a live call-in show. If you have any questions about the programs we're talking about, violence prevention, negotiation skill, you mentioned the second program, we want to touch bases on that, life skills. What does that mean for us? What does that mean in our community? And then we're not going to forget about that mentoring program, because that's a great part of what we do. Life skills. Let's just talk a little bit about what the life skills programs have to offer.
Again, following up on the violence prevention piece, which is very drug intensive, gang intensive. Life skills, social development, how to hold a conversation, how to complete a resume, how to get along with other people, how to engage yourself in social activities.
Absolutely.
Many times we look at violence, and let's tie in the violence. Many of our children don't know how to get along, how to talk to each other on the basketball court, leads into fights or arguments or trash talking, which leads to someone pulling out a gun, wanting to shoot someone. Many relationships, life skills. How do you treat your girlfriend? How do you approach a woman? These are the life skill things that we teach both in the schools and in the mentorship program. Things that will just help curtail violent acts. And we're talking about domestic violence, gun violence, gang violence.
Absolutely. And when we start talking about life skills and socialization skills, so often we do not receive socialization, early on. One of the things that I found in some of my research that I've done throughout the years in talking about parenting and some of the things that we don't do as a family when we start talking about socialization. One of the biggest things we don't do is we don't have dinner with our children, and that's one of the biggest. We're going to talk a little bit about the elements of time, and this is something that we talk about. We're talking about life skills. We're talking about socialization. When you're talking about sleeping for 16, you're talking about being in school. When you sleep for 8, you're in school for another 8. That's only 16 hours. That leaves you about 8 hours where you have an opportunity or a window to kind of bond with your children. We start talking about sitting down at the table as a family, where we talk about what went on in our day, where we talk about what we can do to change some things, where we actually have meals together, and as us as a community, oftentimes we may put our children at the table, but then we get our plates and we go to the living room so we can watch television, or we go to the bedroom so we can watch television. We have to get back to those basics where we do sit around the table and talk about life skills and negotiation skills as a whole, as a family, and always remembering where the teaching actually begins. We only can do so much. Again, another point is elements of time. We're not talking about the quantity, but the quality of the time that you're able to put in homework. That's vital, and not only is it vital for you to continue your education, because oftentimes our kids present us with stuff we don't have a clue as to what this is, because we've been out of school for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So that's why it's so important that you continue the learning process with your children. That's the quality time that we're talking about, where you have an opportunity to deal with socializations, where as a parent you can talk about negotiation skills. That stuff is vital, and that's what these programs are doing. When we talk about Southside Help Center, we've been doing this for years, and it's so important that you know that we're doing this. It's so important that you become involved with these programs, and as parents come in, they just got through with a cycle of parenting classes, because just because we have children does not mean that we know how to parent, and there's a lot of different techniques and skills that you can actually get from these programs. I believe we have a caller. Caller, you on the air?
Yes, Mr. Cherry. I was just calling in to say that I completely agree with you. A lot of our times our parents don't
turn your TV down just a little bit so we can hear you a little better.
They don't realize that the television is raising our children instead of our parents, because when you're sending your child to school for 8 hours and then they're sleeping for 8 hours and you sit them down in front of the television those other 8 hours, or they're hanging with their friends, that's where the peer pressure comes from, which involves a lot of our violence and our drugs and our alcohol and our early sexual promiscuity, in our children. And our parents don't realize that. And the sooner our parents get more involved with their children, the better our communities can be.
Absolutely, and I totally agree.
And thank you for calling. But let's be real. Let's talk about the fact that many of the households that our young children are coming from are broken households, especially with the youth that I work with, especially the young men that I work with and have mentored for many, many, many years. If I have 20 boys enrolled in the mentorship program, I can guarantee you that 15 of those boys are without a positive, number one, a positive male role model in their life. Whereas the mom is probably stressed or dealing with another set of issues, I'll say. So where does that kid go? How does that kid not succumb to the peer pressure, to the drugs, to the early sexual activity, to hanging out with their peers, where they're getting that love, they're getting the dinner, they're getting the camaraderie of hanging out with someone else, which brings me to the point of how important it is to have mentors, positive people to help fill that void of the father or even the mom when they're not around. So it's important that young people have a connection to someone who's positive that can help them get through those growing pains.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And again, thank you, caller. Do we have another call over there? We're good. I totally agree. And this is what we're offering, alternative programming. This is so vital, not just for after school or school-based initiatives, after schools. And we really need more positive male role models. And if you don't think that you're a positive male role model, again, it's all about what your exposure is. It's all about what you're willing to give back. And oftentimes I tell people, they think because that you have to be a lawyer in order to be a positive role model. That's not true. Oftentimes, through your own experience, you can share with the youth what not to do to become a part of this process. And that's why we continuously encourage more and more men to get involved with mentoring and programming, because so many of our houses are broken homes, and that's by design. We ain't finna get into the politics of the process. We just talking about what needs to happen or as part of the solution. Many of our homes are broken homes. Many of our young men don't know what it is to be men because they haven't been taught to be men. And the one thing that I do know, that just because you're born male does not mean you'll become a man. That's a taught behavior. We got many cats who have reached a particular age and claim to be men, but of course they haven't been taught what it is to be a man. That's a taught behavior, and they have to be exposed to men in order to become a man. Same thing with our sisters. Do not think because one of us can have a baby that makes us a father or that makes us a mother. It takes so much more to raise a child, and it takes that much more for us to admit when we don't know, and that we contact programs where we can not only learn, but also our children can learn as well. So this is about the big picture. We want people to know that you can call us. This is a live call in. You can call us 312-738-1060. We're talking about violence in our schools. We're talking about violence in our communities. We're talking about violence prevention programs that the Southside Help Center are providing and have been providing for many, many years. I'll tell you how long we provided. I often look at Mr. Dunn sitting here, Mr. Dunn, Arthur Dunn here. When I encountered this brother, he was about 17. And one thing that about mentoring goes from one level to the next level, from one generation to the next generation. And for me, I be looking for younger brothers to take this torch and carry this torch and pass this torch on. We got another one of our young brothers who was sitting in the studio here with us, Mr. Aaron Smith, who I remember this brother when he was about 4 or 5 years old, and I watched him grow and develop. And not only is he not he's a veteran from over at the war, he was also wounded over there, and the Tribune did a whole write-up on this brother. But that's positive role modeling, and I expect for him to continue to grow and continue to show. And it's through the programming at the Southside Help Center. I watched this brother through school. I watched him through Lincoln Challenge. I watched him go to the military, go to college, come back, deal with his own personal issues. I've watched him. And it all comes from mentoring. It comes from violence prevention program. Me and Mr. Dunn got a couple of brothers, Daniel Bilbro and Keith Parks, who are outstanding examples. And we could talk about the sisters, but it's always sisters. The colleges and the schools are full of sisters who are doing the right thing, but we need to talk about some of our brothers who are doing the right thing, who have been positive, and for when they come back and they're able to give some of those, impart some of those experiences. And remember, these were brothers who were straddling the fence. Mm-hmm. And I often think about Daniel. Daniel was one of our brothers who had to do an extra year high school, and that's traumatic for brothers to have to go back and see those same people. But now that brother's he's in
parole officer.
He's a parole officer in Texas. He's got a kid of his own, so he's doing all of the right things.
Is a detective in South Carolina. And if you think we're not talking about violence, we are talking about violence, but we're talking about the prevention of violence. And
Absolutely.
One of the best methods to prevent violence is to grab hold of one of these young people, spend some time with these young people, keep them off the street, and that way help reduce the violence here in Chicago and across the nation, which is why mentoring is so important.
You got a call? Caller, you're on the air. You're on the air, caller.
Hello, Mr. Cherry and Mr. Dunn.
Hey, how are you?
Hey there.
Hi, I just wanted to say that, you guys look great on camera, first of all.
Thank you.
If you could see the other colors in the room, we're like a box of
Skittles. The information that you guys provide as far as...
That's Mr. Dunn talking about we look like a bomb.
Right.
Go ahead and continue.
You guys do a great job with the information that you provide. As far as the youth and the HIV prevention program, I watch the show often. And I just wanted to tell you that I enjoy it, and I hope to see Dr. Dunn more often. Just hearing him speak about what he actually does, it's just great to hear it.
Absolutely.
You know, I know he does a great job, and hearing it and being more informed about what you guys do with the youth is great. And just keep up the good work.
Well, thank you. We sure appreciate
Who
it.
does a great job?
We all do great
We all
job,
do.
Mr. Dunn. We got another call. Hit it again. Having a little technical difficulties with the phone, but we'll get it together in a second. And we do thank you guys for calling in. She got it. We do thank you guys for calling in with the comments, because this is what allows us to continue this work. And again, we good. It's not easy to do violence prevention. It's not easy to deal with our youth, especially when you look at some of the circumstances. We got so many people in our community who are afraid of our youth, and we can go ahead.
But it's not. What we do can be a special job, but it's not that difficult. Let me just reiterate that to you. If you're at home and you're watching this show, it does not take a great deal of resources, finances, to simply spend 1 hour a day, 5 hours a week with a young person and keep that kid off the street, keep that kid safe, expose that kid to something new, and also while doing that, educate that kid on something that will be beneficial to them during their lifetime. So it's not a great difficult task to do. Anyone can be a prevention specialist, is what they call us. But it's just making sure that you value these young people. You don't walk the streets afraid of these young people. You look at Lil Johnny and Tyrone, they're thugs, but you have to understand what issues have they dealt with that have them in the position that they're in. They've been neglected, they've been abandoned, they've been used, they've been abused. They're hurting, and hurt people hurt people. What is it that you can bring as a viewer right now, as a potential mentor to a young person, to help that kid feel valued, help that kid feel loved, help that kid move on and obtain some sort of goals in their future? It's not difficult to do, and you'd be surprised at how valuable you are, and that relationship would be between the mentor and mentee.
Absolutely, and I thank you for that. I don't think, do we got a call? Okay, we'll make sure. I could not have put that better in terms of how valuable the community is to this process. The biggest problem we often have with mentoring and programming is having those individuals who are willing to donate the necessary time, and what may appear to be a lot really is not. You know,
Right.
when you're talking about as mentors giving two hours a month, 2 hours, that means taking one day, devoting 2 hours to the process is not a lot. It often seems to be we have such a difficulty at getting mentors to deal with our programming and deal with our youth. It is not very difficult, as
Right.
Mr. Dunn has stated. So we definitely we implore you, we charge you with taking that task on, so that we continue positive programming. At the Southside Help Center, we got a number of different things that we do. We also have an after-school program that deals with mentors, male and female. Not only deals with that, it also provides after-school homework. We'll be Right now we're dealing with the summer program, but shortly as school begins back, we'll have that available to you as well. If you would like to get involved with some of our programs at the Southside Help Center, dealing with our youth, be it that violence prevention, be it life skills, be it mentoring, you can always give us a call at the center. The number at the center is 773-445-5445, and you can get involved. If you have any questions about the programs that we're talking about today, well, hold that thought, because our time here has run out. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate the comments. Mr. Dunn,
Can I get a part two?
we may have to give Mr. Dunn a part two, but if there's any last minute things you can say in the next 10 seconds, what would that be?
Your time is valuable. Give some time to a kid, to a youth, whether it's bowling, pool, whatever your interests are. Give us a call at Southside Help Center. Come on in, complete the paperwork, and get you signed up so you can start helping reduce this violence in Chicago through mentoring.
Yep. And we thank everybody. This is the Southside Helps in the show. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. Our programs are invaluable, and the only way that our programs are going to be successful is with you guys. We'd like to thank our founder, Ms. Betty Smith, and as well as our executive director, Ms. Vanessa Smith, who's doing a wonderful job in keeping the community services and keeping the programs going. So we thank you. Until we see you again, we bid you peace.